I'm Leah Lane, an award-winning travel writer and author of Places I Remember, Tales, Truths, Delights from 100 Countries. On this podcast, we share conversations with travelers about fascinating destinations and memorable experiences around the world. Today, we're talking about the Virgins. Islands, that is. The spectacular American and British Virgin Islands, a group of about 90 small islands, islets, cays, and rocks in the West Indies, some 40 to 50 miles east of Puerto Rico. The Virgins extend for about 60 miles in a major channel connecting the Atlantic and the Caribbean. The first people on the islands were the Cara, Arawak, and Siboney Indians. Christopher Columbus, when he discovered them in 1493, named them after St. Ursula and the 11,000 virgins. In the first part of this episode, I'll be talking about the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. I've visited them all over the years, and I've returned often for enchanting escapes from the realities of mainland life. And in the second part of the podcast, we'll be talking with Clive McCoy, Director of Tourism of the British Virgin Islands. Let's start with the most well-known of the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas. The capital, Charlotte Amalie, was founded by the Danish in the 1600s and named after the king's wife. It's the most visited port in the Caribbean and offers visitors elegant dining, nightlife, duty-free shopping, and even submarine rides. St. Thomas is known for mega yachts and cruise ships moored in the harbor and high-end storefronts with duty-free shopping along Main Street. Historic buildings include a 1679 watchtower called Blackbeard's Castle, referring to the area's pirate history. Edward Blackbeard Teach, born in 1680 in England, plundered ships traveling to and from American colonies, as well as vessels in the Caribbean. His reign of terror lasted only 2 years, but he became one of the best-known sea robbers in all of history. Also overlooking the harbor is a 17th century Fort Christian, now a local history museum. St. Thomas is a family-friendly island with lots of tourist attractions for kids. At Coral World Ocean Park, you can swim with sea lions and do a sea trek walk along the ocean floor. There's also an undersea observatory built 27 feet underwater and the Marine Gardens gallery of 21 aquariums. St. Thomas Skyride whisks you more than 500 feet above Charlotte Amalie for some of the most dramatic views in the Caribbean. You can hike the nature trail and see parrots, goats, ducks, geese, and other tropical birds. And I love the butterfly garden with colorful species from around the world. Golfers play the George and Tom Fazio-designed 18-hole golf course. The best part is the Devil's Triangle, the spectacular trio of signature holes on the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, there are the super beaches for fishing, snorkeling, water activities, and even a little seclusion. If you snorkel or dive, you can spot some of the more than 500 species of fish, 40 types of coral, and hundreds of invertebrates. As the sun sets, octopuses, seahorses, and moray eels make their appearance, and if you're lucky, you can even witness turtles hatching at one of the many turtle nesting grounds. Magens Bay is St. Thomas's most popular beach, a protected, heart-shaped bay stretching about a mile and featuring white sand and sapphire blue waters. It's super popular, of course, and tourists are willing to pay the entry fee to enjoy Magens' charms. So come early or late to avoid crowds or find your own more secluded beach. To sum up, St. Thomas is the gateway island, so yes, it's more crowded, but there's more to do, and the greatest variety of hotels and restaurants of all the Virgins. A short ferry ride away is the beautiful island of St. John, the smallest of the 3 U.S. Virgin Islands. It appeals to nature lovers and those of us who seek a peaceful escape. Most of the island, more than 7,000 acres, is dedicated parkland, and there are more than 20 trails to hike in forests that shelter resident and migratory birds, including cuckoos, warblers, and hummingbirds. The mangroves at Hurricane Hole in the east support corals and anemones. And I remember dolphins leaping in the waters and seeing hawksbill and green turtles. Trunk Bay Beach is the ultimate St. John beach with a wide expanse of pristine white sand and azure water marked by a small offshore key. The gentle surf and reefs around the island make it a great spot for beginning snorkelers, and the marked underwater trail offers a lesson in Sea Life 101. Trunk Bay, by the way, is named for the leatherback turtles, which are endemic to the U.S.V.I. and are locally known as trunks. You won't find all-inclusive resorts or high-rises on St. John. In fact, this small island only has 2 traditional resorts and several other basic resort-like accommodations, offering camping and glamping under the stars. Cinnamon Bay Resort and its campgrounds is the most well-known. I think the most interesting cultural site on St. John is Annenberg Plantation, which was established in the late 1700s by Danish colonists. Enslaved workers farmed 1,300 acres of sugarcane and produced 100,000 tons of sugar a year, plus molasses and rum. The plantation and its mill are pretty much in ruins, but parts have been restored, and you'll be able to see the enslaved people's quarters, their work sites, and the guardhouse that prevented them from escaping. All in all, St. John is an uncrowded island with a slow pace and exceptional natural beauty. The largest of the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, covers 176 square miles with a mix of beaches, rainforests, and historical sites. And Point Udall's Millennium Monument marks the easternmost point of U.S. territory. I think St. Croix is the most interesting of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it's the only territory in the New World that's been ruled by 7 countries: Spain, Netherlands, England, France, Malta, Denmark, and currently the USA. You can feel the influence of these cultures through the architecture, the names all around you, and through the yummy multicultural cuisine. What most sets St. Croix apart from the other islands are the 2 historic towns, Frederiksted and Christiansted. Originally built to protect the Virgin Islands from piracy, Fort Frederick, also called Frederick's Fort, is the site of a landmark event. In 1848, some 8,000 enslaved people marched through the streets of Frederiksted to this fort to demand their freedom. Here you can learn about the Emancipation Rally and the Triangular Trade, a ship route that ferried enslaved people and goods between Europe, Africa, and the New World. Lemon-colored Fort Christiansand is among the best of Christiansted National Historic Site's Danish colonial buildings. It's a well-preserved stronghold on the waterfront built in the late 1700s. The building is on the grounds of the Christiansted National Historic Site. Exploring takes about 30 minutes, so you'll have plenty of time to check out the rest of the area. You can learn about David Hamilton Jackson, a Black educator who campaigned for both workers and civil rights here in the Danish West Indies in the early 1900s. You'll also find the Danish Custom House, the Scale House, and the Danish West India and Guinea Company Warehouse. There are other pleasures on St. Croix. St. George Village Botanical Gardens occupies an old sugar plantation, and Salt River Bay National Park has archaeological sites in the mangroves and coral reefs. Sandy Point is a 2-mile beach on the southwestern tip of St. Croix that's nearly 400 acres of natural refuge for leatherback sea turtles. It was a setting for the movie The Shawshank Redemption, which was said to be in Mexico in the movie, but now you know. One of my favorite experiences in St. Croix was visiting Buck Island, about 1.5 miles off the coast. Managed by the National Park Service, the island is fringed with a barrier reef full of tropical fish and elkhorn coral. Buck Island Reef National Monument is one of only 3 underwater national monuments in the USA. Snorkelers and scuba divers can explore an underwater trail. On land, you'll find a subtropical dry forest. Trails weave through the island, which are perfect for a post-snorkel, stroll, or hike, and a great way to dry off. There's some lovely resorts on St. Croix and several special restaurants which feature local seafood. And I must add, it's on this island that you'll find the Cruisin' Rum Distillery. And now there's also Mutiny Island Vodka, the world's first and only vodka distilled from breadfruit. It's bottled at the Sion Farm Distillery. So now you have 2 great drinking tours to enjoy. Before we hear from Clive McCoy about the British Virgin Islands, here are a few general facts I dug up about the U.S. Virgins. The islands are a U.S. territory run by an elected governor under the jurisdiction of the President of the United States, and residents are American citizens. Yes, people from the Virgin Islands are called Virgin Islanders, but they're mostly identified by their island of residence: St. Thomian, St. Johnian, Crucian for St. Croix, and Water Islanders. Water Island is the smallest of the 4 U.S.V.I. islands at just 491 acres. It's also the youngest, having been transferred to the local government in December 1996. Passports for U.S. citizens are not required for the U.S. Virgin Islands, but you must be prepared to show evidence of citizenship upon leaving. Citizens of other countries should follow U.S. travel regulations, and you'll need a passport and a visa to enter. Driving can be a challenge here, and I'm speaking from experience. Motor vehicles are driven on the left side of the road in both the British and the U.S. Virgins, although the steering wheels on most cars are located on the left side too, as is the norm for driving on the right. So consider that before you decide to rent a car. The Virgin Islands are beautiful indeed, but they are definitely not the cheapest place to visit. Prices tend to be high for transportation, dining, and accommodations, and there are hurricanes. English has been the predominant language since 1917, when the islands were transferred from Denmark to the U.S., but Spanish is spoken by about a fifth of the population. The islands are becoming more green each year as an ecological. For example, you can only use sunscreen containing zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, the only sunscreen ingredients deemed safe by the FDA, so know before you go. U.S. Virgin Islanders are religious people, and they're also storytelling people. I've heard stories about the jumbies, spirits that walk around in homes, on the street, and anywhere the person telling the story wants them to be. It's lots of fun to hear them. All the islands celebrate Carnival. The one in St. Thomas lasts a month, and it kicks off with pageants and calypso shows and really heats up in the last week with hardcore partying. As for local foods, I remember stewed oxtail, beef, goat, and chicken, and of course, lots of seafood. Salt fish is a main dish, or used in pâtés. Side dishes include local rice and peas, yams, fried plantain, sweet potato. It's a tasty cuisine. As for drinks, beer and rum are local, and one super delicious tropical drink I clearly remember is called the Painkiller. It's served in both the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and it's so delicious, I took down the recipe for you. 1 part cream of coconut, 1 part orange juice, 4 parts pineapple juice, rum to taste, be careful here, and fresh nutmeg. Now, I may talk about places I remember, but that is a drink I remember. Okay, we've covered the U.S. Virgin Islands. Let's talk about their close neighbors just to the north and east, the gorgeous British Virgins. Our guest is Clive McCoy, Director of Tourism for the British Virgin Islands. Welcome, Clive, to Places I Remember.
Thank you for having me, Leah. It's a pleasure.
What a gorgeous voice. So first, let me ask, what would you say are the biggest differences between the U.S. Virgin Islands and the B.V.I.?
Well, the British Virgin Islands and the U.S.V.I, as you mentioned, are distinctly different territories. The British Virgin Islands are a territory of the United Kingdom, whereas the United States Virgin Islands is a territory of the United States of America. One of the major differences between both territories is that the British Virgin Islands consist of 60 small islands and cays, whereas the United States Virgin Islands is only 4. And the population size is a lot less in the British Virgin Islands. We have half the amount of persons that live in the British Virgin Islands compared to the United States Virgin Islands. So those are 2 key differences in the both territories. There are, as you mentioned, our cousins right to the west of us, and we love them dearly. And when persons go and visit them, they have the opportunity to take the ferry and come over and visit one of our 60 islands and cays and have some B.V.I. love.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful mixture. Can you tell us a bit about the history of the B.V.I.?
Well, the British Virgin Islands were discovered by Christopher Columbus way back in hundreds of years ago. And we have had several major countries. We were Spanish at one point. And then as the years went on, we became a territory of the United Kingdom. If you listen to all the names of the islands in the British Virgin Islands, most of them have Spanish names.
I love the names. I love them.
Yes,
Could you
Tortola.
say some of them? They're wonderful names.
For example, Tortola. Tortola means land of the turtle dove. Virgin Gorda, translated, would mean fat virgin. And the reason it's called Virgin Gorda is because Christopher Columbus, when he first saw the island, he said it looked like a larger lady, a pregnant lady laying on her side. I think however, that they were on the water for way too long and he was seeing what he wanted to see at that point.
I don't think he gets points on that one.
Yeah. And then we have Anegada, which is to the north, which means the drowned island. Anegada is called the drowned island because it is the only island in the B.V.I. that's of coral formation. So it's completely flat. Some parts are actually below sea level, but that island boasts 13 miles of uninterrupted beach. So that's a little bit of the history from back then of the British Virgin Islands. We continue to cherish that history. Over the years, we have continued to maintain our cultural heritage through our dance and our music and our artwork.
What are some of the festivals that you would recommend?
I would recommend our Easter Festival in Virgin Gorda, also our August Festival, which is our Emancipation Festival in Tortola. That is a major attraction. It's usually the first, you want to be in the B.V.I. the first week of August. And then we have several sailing festivals. Our spring regatta next year is going to be our 50th anniversary in the British Virgin Islands. As you know, we are the sailing capital of the world, and it's events like that, solidify our position as the sailing capital of the world. So, and then of course in November, we also have our Anegada Lobster Fest, which is up in Anegada.
Yeah, tell us about the lobster. That's so famous and it's so delicious.
The lobster in Anegada is absolutely amazing. Anegada, we have the spiny lobsters. It's not the ones with the big claws. I love how they do it over in Anegada. They keep them close by the dock area where the restaurants are, so they keep them fresh. So pretty much when you order a lobster on Anegada, it goes from the ocean to the grill to your plate. So, and it's renowned as the best lobster in the region. So the Lobster Fest that we do every November, we're looking forward to it and actually experience that.
Absolutely. There's also some delicious cracked conch burgers. I've had conch.
Yes, Anegada is also known for conch. You can get conch made in several different ways, conch stewed, conch fritters, grilled, however you want it, but Anegada has it. And there's actually an attraction in Anegada called the Conch Shell Mounds that you can sail out to. Over the years, when persons have harvested conch on Anegada, they would just throw them in a pile. And throughout these years, the pile has grown. Now you can go out and you can see the pile. The pile has been around for hundreds of years.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's an attraction now in the B.V.I. The story from Anegadians is that you didn't want to discard the conch anywhere close to where you caught the conch because it would make the other conchs run away. So they would just put them in one area. So that's their story, and I'm sticking with it.
You're sticking with it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit more about Tortola, which is the largest of the British Virgin Islands. What's not to miss there?
Well, on Tortola, it was the largest island in the B.V.I., and it's the center of most business activity in the Virgin Islands. So it's a little bit busier. There's a lot more nightlife there in Tortola than all of the other islands. But the thing that makes Tortola so special is that it is in pretty much the center of all the various islands that surround it. And it makes it really easy if you're staying on Tortola to pop over and go to any of the other islands. The only island that's more than 30 minutes to get to by ferry is Anegada. But Jost, Dyke, Virgin Gorda, all the other islands from Tortola are only 20 to 25 minutes away. So that is one of the special things about Tortola. It allows you to hop around from island to island very easily. There are museums on Tortola as well. The Government House Museum, there's the Old Prison Museum.
You have a wonderful spice collection there. I went there once and bought lots of spices.
Of course. Yes. And there's a lot of stores. There's good shopping in Road Town. Old Road Town. There's spice shops. We also have the Tortola Pier Park, where we have the cruise ships that come in, and there's excellent shopping there, excellent dining as well at that facility. And we encourage persons when they come to the B.V.I. to actually visit that park.
Now, really I met a very interesting artist named Joseph Hodge. Is he still around?
Yes, Joseph Hodge is still there. He is based in an area called Crafts Alive, and you can still go there and you can purchase some of his paintings, his artwork. So, BVI, Tortola only has a population of about 25,000, but it is such a cosmopolitan type environment. We have people from all over the world there. So you mix that with some of the BVI culture and, you get a wonderful feel to the destination.
Well, I liked, you have a tall mountain, Mount Sage, and you can hike up that. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful contrast to your beaches. So you have both.
Of course, it's the highest
Special.
point. It's the highest point on Tortola. It's a national park, and for all your hiking enthusiasts, that is one of the places that I highly recommend going to do. Other hiking tours that have developed over the years that are very well attended. There's a pineapple tour where you can go to a pineapple field through one of the areas in Brewers Bay. And of course, the beaches on Tortola are unbelievable. King Garden Bay is a must-see, must-experience, and also Smuggler's Cove. I can
Oh,
go
yeah,
on
they
and on.
sound so good.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just sound so good. There's great diving there. I know there's shipwreck diving. Tell us
correct.
about the ship that's down
Correct.
there.
Well, the BVI has been for many years rated as the number one wreck diving destination in the region. It's because we have some great wrecks. One of the more popular wrecks that we have is called the Wreck of the Rhone, which is off of Salt Island. And the Wreck of the Rhone is an old English steamer that sunk there hundreds of years ago. And it's coral encrusted now, but you can still see portions of it, like the rib of the boat, and it has great history. And as I said, it's a national park, and there's other dive sites there. There's a sunken airplane. We used to have a restaurant, but we still have a floating restaurant called the Willie T. It's over by Norman Island right now, but we lost one during the storm, and they safely sunk the old one. So now that is another.
You can eat
wreck.
underwater.
No, you can't. Well, if we could, we would have it there.
It'd be a little hard, right?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I have to now mention another place that I love. It's Virgin Gorda. It's a very famous place for one spectacular reason, which everybody knows about, the baths. Tell us about the baths.
Well, you're so correct. I always say Virgin Gorda is the champagne of the British Virgin Islands. It's absolutely beautiful. It's always ranked as one of the top 3 most beautiful islands in the Caribbean. And of course, the baths. What the baths are, it's a boulder formation that is on a beach in Virgin Gorda. And you can crawl through these boulders, and there's wonderful sea pools and grottos. I've heard many stories about how the baths were formed. I like to tell people that just to get an idea of what it looks like. Imagine if we had 1,000-foot giants and the boulders were Legos and they just made caves with them on the beach. That is exactly what it looks like. And they made it for persons to go through it. It's an absolutely stunning scene. It's one of the can't miss attractions in the British Virgin Islands. It amazes me every time I go there, how wonderful it is, and I've seen it all my life. So
it's absolutely
it's one
wonderful.
Of those things, yeah.
The little pools, you go behind some of these boulders, you're all by yourself in a pool with these rocks. It reminds me of the granite rocks on the beaches of the Seychelles Islands.
Yes,
the Indian Ocean.
It does mimic them. However, I think the boulders on Virgin
Gorda more interesting.
They're bigger, and you can crawl through them. And there's an area that we call the cathedral. And the reason why we call it the cathedral is because the boulders shoot up hundreds of feet, and it has a cathedral feel inside of it, especially when the sun is up. The sun peeks through the boulders into the water, so you can get an idea of what that looks like.
Is there a time of day you recommend? Is there when it's most beautiful?
Yes, you get the sunlight coming through the cathedral around about 10, 11 in the day. When the sun is directly overhead, you'll get that sunlight coming in. It's absolutely wonderful.
Well, I love the name of the 4th main island of the BVI. Is it Jost van Dyke or Jost van Dyke? I've heard both.
Both are correct. If you say it, we know what you mean.
Was he a pirate?
Jost van Dyke, he was a Dutch pirate that inhabited that island over many years ago. That island is actually the 3rd most popular place in the world to be for New Year's Eve. A lot of people don't know that.
3rd? What are the first 2?
The first 2 are Times Square in New York. The second is Trafalgar Square.
Okay, and why is this 3rd?
Well, first thing first is because it's the British Virgin Islands, the most beautiful destination in the world. However, but what is known for is its New Year's party in the area called Great Harbor. by a gentleman by the name of Foxy's. His name is Foxy's. I don't know if you've heard of Foxy's Bar and Grill, but it's a very popular bar and
I've
restaurant.
heard of the
People from all
Soggy
over the world.
Dollar bar.
Soggy Dollar is on the other side, but
Okay.
they're not responsible for
Okay.
the New Year's party. Well, Foxy's on Great Harbor side. So people go there and they line up their boats in the harbor and they just have a great time with Foxy's. It's just a tradition now that people come there for New Year's Eve as well.
I would imagine it'd be a very big deal. And
Yeah,
it sounds like the
Yost-Van-Dyke.
most fun of all the three. I would take that
Yeah.
over Times Square and Trafalgar Square.
Yeah. So Jost-Van-Dyke is it's also the home of the Painkiller.
Yes, I
which is the
mentioned the
offensive of the
Painkiller
British Virgin Islands.
earlier. I know they have it it came from Jost-Van-Dyke, right? But you can have it at both islands. They've all incorporated
You
it.
can have it anywhere in the Virgin Islands. It's pretty much on most restaurants' menu. It's such a popular drink within the B.V.I, but it originated on Jost-Van-Dyke. I've even seen it on the menu here in certain places in Miami. It's a popular drink. So
you forgot the nutmeg.
And they grate fresh nutmeg on top.
I already gave the recipe, but I guess everybody's going to want to try that one. It is a painkiller. Well, this sounds so delicious in every way. Mm-hmm. And there's so much to see and do. But Clive, if you have only a week, would you set up a perfect trip for us? How would you figure out the timing on this? You'd start maybe in Tortola? Well,
if I had a week in the British Virgin Islands, I would want to see as many of the islands as possible. And that's not hard to do because all the islands are very close to each other. We like to say that you can have breakfast on one island, lunch on another, and dinner on another. And that's the reason you can do that is because all the islands are so close together. So I'll give you two options for a great week in British Virgin Islands. One of them is you can charter a yacht with a captain and a cook on it, and you can sail around to the various different islands and experience the different vibe each island has, the relaxed pace of Virgin Gorda, the romantic feel of Virgin Gorda. And you have the party feel in Jost-Van-Dyke with all the bars and restaurants. And then you can run up to Anegada and have some Anegada lobster. So that way you are traveling in your hotel to the various different islands, okay? But if you don't want to do that, you can stay on Tortola and you can catch the ferry and go and visit all the various islands as well. Ferries run daily in the British Virgin Islands for the most part to the different islands. And if you're there for a week, you'll certainly be able to do that. So that is the perfect week in the British Virgin Islands, being able to go from island to island. Or you can just find one of the islands that you like and just relax on one of our wonderful beaches that more than likely you will be the only one there.
Oh, boy. That sounds like heaven.
So, it's a destination that offers a lot. It's a destination that offers a little. It depends on what you want to do.
Well, it sounds like it has something for anyone who wants to go to paradise. Mm-hmm. Well, the name of the podcast is Places I Remember. So, Clive, please share a special memory of your beautiful British Virgin Islands.
Well, I have so many memories, but I'll give you one that always sticks out in my mind. When I started working for the British Virgin Islands, we do this thing called fam trips. And what it means is we take persons in the travel trade to the British Virgin Islands to experience the destination. Okay? We were on one of those big safari buses with some travel agents in the North Sound area. And I don't know if you know the safari buses. They're big open air buses. We were there with the travel agents that we were showing off the B.V.I to, and we had one or two painkillers, and we were heading from North Sound into Spanish Town to go visit another hotel on Virgin Gorda. And while we were driving, the wind picked up, and it took the hat of one of the travel agents off her head, and it just went into the bushes. And we were having a good time. She didn't care about the hat. We were just thrilled. About 10 minutes later, we hear a car behind us honking their horn. So we thought it was something happened to the bus. So we stopped, and the gentleman came out of the car and gave her back her hat. And that happening showed us and showed the travel agents and showed everyone that was there at that time, the type of people that are in the British Virgin Islands. The people in the British Virgin Islands are beautiful people that care about others. And he didn't know who this hat belonged to. He just knew that he had to get the hat back to the lady because it was the right thing to do. And that's the thing that makes the British Virgin Islands special. Yes, we have the beaches. Yes, we have all of these different islands that you can go to, and each island has a different vibe. But it's the people of the British Virgin Islands that make the destination what it is. And I'm so happy to be able to share that story.
Oh, thank you so much. It's beautiful. Yeah. As I've said before, so many times these special memories involve people and good people. Yeah. So it's lovely to hear it. So whether you travel to the American Virgins or the British Virgins, you'll find sun and fun and beaches and histories and wonderful people and spectacular beauty. So why not mix and match them? Visit both groups. It's a perfect place to get away. Thank you, Clive McCoy, for talking with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it anytime.
Okay, can't wait to get back to the Virgins. Thanks for listening to our award-winning podcast. We've recorded over 100 episodes of Places I Remember, so follow us on any podcast app. And new monthly episodes are also on YouTube with gorgeous video. My book, Places I Remember, is available in print and Kindle, and I read the audio version. Follow my travel writing at Forbes.com. Contact me at the links in the show notes or on my website, placesirememberlealane.com, and keep making your own travel memories.